Good morning, or good afternoon, evening, St. Petersburg and Tampa Bay. This is WordPress St. Petersburg. We are live on YouTube. Anyone that's watching us later on YouTube, hey, we're live. You're just going to be watching a replay of a show. So any questions that are asked, etc., we'll deal with them during the call. This is our Ask Us Anything Crowdsourcing WordPress Support Workshop. Tonight we have with us Travis Lopes, Elaine Simmons, and Jennifer Novak. And I am Jim True. So we'll go and get started on the slides. Let me see. Come on, slides. Go. There we go. Like I said, this is WordPress St. Petersburg. We meet when we used to meet in person. We meet at downtown St. Pete at the Suncoast Developers Guild. For the unforeseeable future, we'll be meeting in Meetup or on a live stream. We meet on the first and third Tuesdays monthly, except for this month we're not because we have a special event happening next month. Our Meetup website is meetup.com, WordPress St. Petersburg. Our website is wptampabay.org. On that website, you'll see links to our Slack chat, our Facebook group, and all of our meetups. We are a member of the WordPress Tampa Bay Network, which is St. Petersburg, Tampa, Brandon, and Newport Richey. So our calendar, upcoming meetups and event, is here on this website. I'm going to actually see, I'm going to have to share the screen with you guys, so give me just a second. Yeah, that's not going to work. Hang on one second. Pull that over there. Do not mind my temporary technical difficulties. We'll take that out and we'll just add another application in. Add stop screen, share screen, application window, Chrome tab. There we go. All right. This is our calendar of events on wptampabay.org. You can get here from the events tab right there, or if you're on the first page of the website, it's all the stuff listed down here on the right hand side. And then you can click on view all events right there. So our upcoming events for August, we have tonight's our Ask Us Anything. Tampa has been canceling their meetups, so they're not meeting right now. Brandon is also not doing their meetups, or at least they haven't been announcing them. Next week, we have a website Q&A help session for nonprofits. This is a joint effort with the Tampa Tech for Good group. Their meetup link is actually, or if you join this one and join it from Meetup, you can subscribe to it. But there's also a link for the webinar Zoom login information there. If you would like to help a nonprofit with technical help, please RSVP and join. If you help primarily nonprofits in your website work, that's a good reason to join. If you are a nonprofit and you need help, I highly recommend joining that webinar. We're going to be doing kind of a quick Q&A session like we're doing tonight, but it's specifically as a joint effort with Tampa Tech for Good. We try to work with them as often as we can since they're good people over there. Okay. The following week on September 18th, we're not having our regular scheduled talk, but Newport Richey is doing a virtual August get-together. If you join their meetup group, you will find out about that. The first one was fun. We had 8 people? Travis?
Yeah, 8, 9 people. Few people cycled throughout.
Yeah, it was nice. And it's going to be very informal for that one. And then in September, we are doing our Ask Us Anything, and then they're doing a presentation on deploying a static website using WordPress. A presentation on the following week on the 8th of September. We have not discussed what we're doing yet for the 15th. All 4 of us are going to hang out after the call and find out what that is. So that will be that. So let me switch back to the other.
And there's some rumblings of a Florida-wide meetup possibly happening.
There are. Do you want to talk about that while I get the other application possibly shared?
That's the majority of what I know about it.
That's pretty much all I know about it.
That's the extent of my knowledge.
It's been discussed on Twitter. That's all I know, but they haven't gone much further than that. So, all right, we're back in our meetup now. We are looking for speakers. We have not had any speaker applications or any kind of offers to talk in a while. So if you know WordPress, web design, front end or back end, plugin reviews, theme reviews, or anything pertinent to web design or entrepreneurship, dealing with remote work, dealing with running an agency while being remote, any of that kind of stuff, I would be, we'd be open to have you to do a talk. If you've never spoken in public before, there's no problem. It's a lot easier to do now that we're doing live streaming. It's great for your resume, your LinkedIn, or your Twitter. Good if you're trying to get a new job. And if you go to wptampabay.org/speakers/call, that's our form for filling out an application to speak. The code of conduct for tonight. There are no stupid questions except the one you didn't ask. Limit your questions. We're going to try to limit questions to like 10 to 15 minutes each so that everyone will get a chance to participate. And anything more than that, honestly, and you should be hiring a consultant. And everyone gets to speak, no crosstalk. It's hard to do sometimes when you're doing the multiple people on the same screen, so just keep an eye on people talking. Raise your hand if you want to interrupt, that sort of stuff, so that we don't step all over each other. Okay, looks like we have someone out there hanging ready to join in our call, so I'm going to bring her in right now. Hey, Kara, can you hear us? We can't hear you. Now you're unmuted. Nope, you're still muted. There you go.
Sorry, my dog was barking at someone outside, so I muted.
No worries. Did you have questions for tonight?
Yes, I wrote down all my questions.
Oh, wow. Okay. Someone who came prepared, folks.
Nice.
So I am new to WordPress. I just migrated my Blogger account over to WordPress, and I kind of just did it with, reading online of how to do it. So it's definitely more in depth than Blogger was.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want to, I want to monetize my blog. So I've been doing Google AdWords and that kind of stuff. So I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to make sure I'm getting my blog out there. So one of the things, when you go to post, make a new post, it says meta keywords and then other items. What exactly is that? And is it important to fill that in on a post?
Jen, you want to take this one?
So are you talking about the keywords or the meta description? The description is what's important, because what that description is when you post that link anywhere, or when Google scrapes it. When you go into Google and you search whatever your keywords are, and it shows that little snippet of a preview. That's what you're in there. Are you using Yoast, or where are you typing that?
Well, it comes up, let me see. I think I can.
Is that an SEO plugin that you're using?
No, it's just on the, when I add, I started drafting a new one today, and at the bottom of it, it says, it's loading here. It says document title, meta description, meta keywords, canonical URL. So should I be filling that stuff in?
Yeah, fill that in, because that's going to be your description. If you get an SEO plugin, I think it's a little more clear cut as to what you're doing. So I would look at Yoast or Rank Math or All-in-One SEO. All of them will kind of do the same as far as giving you an area where it's clear about what your title is, what your snippet is, and how it's going to display both in mobile and on desktop. With mine, I try to keep them, because it gives you very limited space to type to basically for the number of characters. It gives you very limited space, but I try to make sure that mine end with a sentence, and that either it answers for SEO, either it answers a question or is very descriptive about what that article is going to tell you, or what you'll learn from that article.
Okay.
Because that incentivizes people to click on it a little more. But that's basically what that is. That's all for search engine optimization.
Okay.
And that's what you want, especially if you're trying to monetize that. If you need traffic, obviously, to monetize, and in order to get that traffic, that search engine optimization is going to help you.
So if I was doing a blog post about travel, like my meta keywords would be like travel, like how to pack, what to do in Savannah, like where, like that kind of like keywords, or is it just like a single word?
It can be, so it depends on your audience, how broad your audience is. You probably want a mix of what Google calls the short and long tail keywords. The long tail keywords are basically a phrase. So if it was like what to do in 24 hours, if you have 24 hours in Savannah, like if that's what you think someone's gonna search for, or if that's your blog title, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you'd phrase it a little bit better, but you want something like that. So if somebody is thinking, I've got like one day in Savannah, what do I do? Because that's going to help with Google. It's going to, just because there's so much information out there and you're trying to compete with so many travel bloggers, with travel sites, large sites. So to have that type of variety, but you also want, because how often are you posting blogs?
Well, currently I've been trying to do 3 times a week.
Okay, and how many do
I'm
you
like,
have on your site? Like just ballpark, like 100, 1,000, like.
yeah, maybe like 100 to 200.
Okay, so so you've got enough room in there then to be fairly specific, because you probably covered a lot of topics, and the more content you have, the more specific you can be with those keywords and with those searches. So, I mean, it sounds like you've got a really good start as far as content goes to do that search engine optimization.
Okay.
But yeah, you want to make it kind of specific. And that's kind of what people look for, is like, if you just Google like, I mean, like you don't want your ads or your titles like too clickbaitish where people are going to think, yeah, that's going to be garbage. But you do want them enough that people are like, okay, that is very clearly worded. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. So it's kind of hitting the right topic and describing it properly and succinctly.
Okay, that makes sense. Do I have time for another question?
And Google, I'm sorry, Yoast, SEO, or sorry, Rank Math, and All in One, they do a really good job of telling you, they do good jobs and bad jobs of certain things. But if you plug in, it's only going to allow you, the free version, allow you to plug in one keyword. But you can plug that in and it's going to give you red, green, or yellow, happy face, frowny face. Like it's going to give you kind of and Rank Math gives it a score. And I like Rank Math because it also tells you like what you can do to optimize that a little bit better.
Okay.
So if you do that once, if you want to stick with the free version, do it once with one keyword, pull that out, plop in another one. If you want the paid version, you can give it a list of keywords and it's going to rank them for, or give you scoring for all of those.
Okay, awesome.
And Kara, yeah, you have time for one more question if you wanted to ask it real quick since we already got you in here.
Okay, so I noticed that there's a couple, I guess you call them widgets or add-ins. So I would like my blogs to be sent out to, like, when I post something new, like if people sign up on an email, that it gets automatically sent to them. What I noticed that, like, my dashboard talks about constant contact, or like there's a widget for MailChimp. What would be like the best option for that?
In the past, I would have probably pushed MailChimp in the past, but they've changed a lot of their stuff in the last year or so as far as like their pricing
It's still
plans.
a solid.
It's still good. It's still solid.
Like if you're trying to do something basic like that, I would probably say MailChimp still.
Yeah, I think it's a good starting point still, just because they do give you enough allowance initially before they start charging. And you may find that you like their tools enough that if you do grow that list, long enough that you want to stick with them. But there's other platforms, if you grow it large enough, there's other platforms that might be a better fit for a larger email list. But MailChimp, I think it's a really good start. I think it's still simple enough that, when you first get in there, it's easy enough to navigate and easy enough to use. And there's a lot of, like you mentioned, the widget, there's a lot of widgets that you can use, and a lot of themes and plugins are compatible with MailChimp because it's been around long enough. Yeah. And they do a really good job, I think, of reaching to different like marketing and like CMS communities that it'll stay compatible.
Mm-hmm.
So is there like a widget that I could add on like the sidebar of, if you want to sign up for emails? Because there was also something called Opt-in Monster, and I was trying to read a little bit
Sorry.
about that. And
That
I
one's
was,
Yeah.
a paid. That one's a paid one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and I was wondering if it's worth it, because I know when I'm on a lot of sites, it always comes up like you're trying to scroll through and it's like, sign up for emails or get
Yeah.
20% discount. Like,
Yeah.
press
You don't
your-
want to be annoying, but you want to make it easy for people to sign up for stuff. And
Yeah.
I would look to see if I can't actually recommend one right now because I tend to not use a plugin for that. I tend to just add that into the theme to actually add in content that I want at the end of my posts. But that's kind of what you want to have, is like that's what Opt-in Monster is actually pretty good at, is including stuff at the bottom of your post, including stuff in the sidebar, doing the what do you call it? The you're sitting on the screen for a while, and then the opt-in, the sign-up screen pops in from the side. But you have to look at that, and you have to A/B test it to see if that's going to work for you or not.
Yeah, and I think
don't know
again
if, and I
that
don't know if
does
the
depend
Opt-in
on your
Monster does
audience.
free or not. Yeah.
I don't
I don't
think
think
they
it-
do.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think it's.
so.
I think it's all premium. I usually
Oh,
like
you
things that
have
start.
you
free
recommend
and
one
move to
that's free,
premium.
don't you? That you like?
There's one called Privy that's free. The only thing I don't like about it is if you use the free version, their logo is at the bottom, and I just don't like the design of their logo. But that's just a personal thing. But it works really well.
Is
I've
it
never
a
had any issues with
toilet?
it. No,
No,
it's just the
it's not.
font. I think I don't know. And it's kind of
I
large.
was thinking
but
Privy,
You can control
so I
the
didn't know.
colors of it. It does have a lot of options as far as design. Is what I like about it, and it's got a number of options. Like if I'm going to do pop-ups, I prefer like an exit intent, or if a client is really insistent on a pop-up, like I want it to delay for a few seconds, like at least let people see your content before you like
yeah.
slap them in the face and ask them for their email. So we try that, but I think also it's important because people, even if they haven't seen that pop-up yet, or like as soon as a pop-up comes up for me, I'm just looking for the X. That's all I care about.
That's the first thing I do, especially on a phone. I can't stand it on
Yeah.
a phone.
Yes. So if you've just got, in the sidebar, a widget that is just a form of, first name, email, that's a lot of times enough for that. And if you just go into the WordPress repository, just WordPress.org, click plugins, search for like MailChimp widget, and look for one that's downloaded, like has a lot of downloads. Look for one that is rated well, and just read through the support comments, and you'll find a good one there.
And that'll be like an email opt-in widget I could add on like the sidebar.
Yep.
Yeah, just add something
Yeah.
on the sidebar.
Just specifically look for MailChimp.
Yeah,
Okay.
just
Instead of email
MailChimp,
opt-in.
yeah, it'll be a form basically. So it just requires a little integration, but it's not too complex.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Kara. It's your first time coming to us, right?
Yes, first time.
Welcome.
Awesome. That's exciting.
Thank you for jumping in there. And if you have more questions, we can always pull you back in again. I'm going to bring Val on next. So
Okay.
I'm going to
Thank
take
you
out
guys.
for
I
a
do
bit.
have more questions, so.
Okay. All
You can always
right.
put them in the chat too.
You can. Yeah, you can. You can throw them in the live chat, and we'll pull you back in again if you want
okay.
to. All right. I'm going to drop you into the green room again. Hey, Val. Val does not have a camera, so she's going to just do voice. Can you hear us okay, Val?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Hello.
can.
Hi, thank you. So I work for a nonprofit up in Rhode Island, but I'm actually moving down here. So I'm looking for a new WordPress meetup that's local to here. We are moving all of our content online for the upcoming year, our curriculum. So I won't give you the long backstory, but I'm having some issues with formatting on the site. I use Beaver Builder. I don't know if
Mhm.
anyone
Yeah, we're familiar with it.
that my coworkers are giving me content to post up on the site, and it's all in different formats. So some are
Is it coming from like Google Docs and stuff like that, or
so
Word Docs, or?
So I have a lot of Vimeo videos, but then I also have some images that they want the audio to go right underneath it. And so I'm having trouble getting the sizing to match up so that the formatting doesn't look funny when I have different types of content in each section. I don't know if that-
What did you say after the sizing? The sizing matching up to what?
So like the way the Vimeo videos are embedded,
Hmm.
I'm having trouble making the size of the image with the audio clip uh, equal in size. Does that make sense?
I'm trying to picture it. I'm just not like for some
Yeah,
reason I'm
because I
not
mean,
getting it.
you've got a picture, but you've got audio. So like, there's an audio player. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
send the link or share my screen if that's helpful.
Yeah, that would work. Sharing the screen would work. Yeah. Just do the. There's a little option at the bottom just says share screen. Sorry, share screen, and we can pull it in. Yep, we got you.
Can
Hang
you
on. There we
see it?
go. Yeah, we can see it. So, so these are. Is that an actual video or is that
So
a?
these, like Anchor Breath, Hoberman Sphere, these are Vimeo videos.
Mm-hmm.
And these underneath are just an image and they have the audio file
Ah.
right
Okay.
underneath it. But
Okay.
then on a section like this, I have 5 Vimeo videos and then
Right.
this is an image with
Yeah, what you're
audio.
gonna have to do if you want that image to match exactly. I see what your problem you're running into now. What you want to do is actually, since the difference you've got is the Vimeo video is at 16:9,
Okay,
and the player portion or the player Chrome, which is what that little thing down at the bottom is called, the player Chrome is actually part of the video in that
right.
one. And so that's why they're showing the way they are. If you want the other ones to work the same way, you're going to have to actually take into account the Chrome and take it off or have it overlap. Like you could, I would overlap it with CSS. Wait, what do you think, Jen?
I'm
Looking
not
at
even
that,
sure
yeah,
what
Trav.
we're
I mean,
talking about here. So what
well,
is
she's got like you see how the quick stretch number one, the video, the picture is actually at 16:9, but the Chrome
uh-huh.
for the audio player is actually right below it in the same file or in the same window. I think what needs to happen is that Chrome just needs to overlap. But if you do that, then you're going to have to change your images so that the title doesn't get overwritten by the
Oh, I
audio.
see it.
Or
Okay.
just get the height of what that audio player is and just subtract that from the height of your thumbnail image
Yeah, yeah.
to make them
Well,
even
that's
height.
if it's responsive though, that's going to cause a problem. That's why I was thinking it might make more sense to overlap the player the same way that the Chrome for the Vimeo player overlaps, but it disappears once it's playing. That's what I would do. Is I would just make the player overlap the bottom of the image if you want it to match exactly.
How would I do that?
You'd have to target it. What's the link? Is it Resilient Kids Center for Resilience?
You
Hang
have to
on.
put it in the
Let
chat.
me hang on. Center. Yeah, can you just copy and paste that into the chat real quick? Woo! Thank you. All right, perfect. Thanks. Let me share my screen now. I'm going to stop you for a bit. And share screen. I need a browser window. I'll use that one. Hang on. Chrome tab. That'll work. Okay. All right. I don't know if I'll be able to let you see the inspector though. That's the problem. Yeah, let me have to share. I'm gonna have to share that slide. Okay. Oh, I can't get in there. It has a password.
I just
Let me.
see it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a simple password. All right. Let me. I've got to actually share my screen because I can't. I'm not going to let you be able to show you. I'm not going to be able to show you the inspector if I don't do that. So give me just a second. Stop screen. Remove. Stop screen. Share screen. That window. Screen one. Okay. All right. Close that down. Close that down. Not now. So, okay. What you want to do on these is you want to actually inspect. I don't know how much you know about CSS. Of course, it's not.
Minimal.
There it goes. Very minimal. Okay.
the more.
what you got going on here is, hang on, let me drag that over just a little bit more. Yeah, so it is responsive. I had a feeling it was. So either you'd have to set the ratios exactly, or you're going to want to have to actually take that particular thing. So like that's your image is what I've got highlighted right there. But somehow you've got the player over it, and I'm not seeing where that's coming from. Okay, there it is, right there. So you'd want that player to overlap. So what's going to have to happen is, oh god, hang on. Let me drag this baby over here. Not that far. Let me add. Basically, what you want to do is a position absolute. Nope. Relative. Yeah, absolute. And then that's not working. I'd have to look at the code on this one, but basically the idea is that the CSS has got to, you have to take it out of the flow and move it up, is what you're doing. And
Okay.
that's, yeah. The other option would be is to create a video that just has sound on it and make that be your, upload that to Vimeo.
That's what I wanted to do, but my coworkers are pushing back.
Well, tell them that they're not going to get them in a match. Because it's like, yeah,
It's
that's
honestly the quicker fix for that.
yeah,
And it helps make it a little easier because then you're not relying on whatever theme code is being used to serve up the audio player. It's just going to be standardized between video and audio content.
yeah,
So it'll make it much more reliable in that sense.
yeah.
Okay.
And it wouldn't really be that large of a video file since they're already paying for Vimeo anyway.
Yeah.
Of course, people are going to think it's going to have some, what do you call it, some video in it, though. Because I would look at that and expect it to have video in it if I looked at it. Just from the name of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Does that help? I know that's not very helpful, but yeah, since it's responsive, because you can already see, like when I dragged it open, it didn't actually change its own sizing. So you definitely want whatever that is to be part of the thing that's above it.
That's good, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's kind of it's going to be a pain to get that to be responsive, I think, because it's a separate player. It's either, and that player is either coming from the theme or that's coming from, I doubt that's coming from WordPress, but it might be. So
like if you were to try to like style around this, as soon as you change that theme, you're going to be back here again trying to restyle it.
yeah.
Okay.
Now, question, Val. Could you hear us when you were in the green room?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was glad to hear that. Okay, cool. Perfect. I was just curious about that. Any other question? Or was that pretty much the primary one?
I think that's it right now.
Oh, and definitely, if you're definitely come to the meetup next week, go ahead and RSVP to that one, the Tampa Tech for Good one,
Okay.
because it's specifically for nonprofits
I'm sure I'll
who
have
need technical help.
then.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
And welcome. And when are you moving down?
Well, I'm down here already for the month, and then I'll be back permanently in October.
Okay. Cool.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry that it's COVID time.
Right?
So, all right. Well, thank you for joining in.
Yeah.
Right now we have, let me see. Let me pull her out of the call. There we go. Okay. We do have a couple of questions from our meetup attendees. So we kind of need to handle those first.
Some questions, some general topics, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah, one was an actual question, which is a pretty good question. So we'll take that one first. Give me just a second to find it again. Okay. All right. Natalie asks, any steps you would take for setting up WooCommerce, security prep for taxes, etc. All right, I'm going to post that to our WordPress chat and put it over the screen so that we can kind of have that question out there. So yeah, Natalie asks in our meetup, any steps you'd take for setting up WooCommerce, security, prep for taxes, etc. Start first, and this is just coming from my background working with like huge e-commerce sites too. Start with the finances first. Securing for money is the very first step. You have to base it on what the requirements of are the bank that's going to be doing your merchant payment gateway. Because every single one of them is a little different. Like if you're setting up a WooCommerce site for a shop and you're using PayPal or Stripe, the only real requirement there is HTTPS. It has to have an SSL certificate for the gateway. If you're working with AuthorizeNet, if you're working with any of the big companies that are specifically going to be working with a merchant bank account, you're going to have some very specific security requirements, and that should be your minimum that you start with.
Which is why you should save yourself the headache and go with PayPal or Stripe. Honestly.
What if they're gigantic? Like we are, like, with Gravity Forms, we had to use Chargeify.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, and then also too, you have to start thinking about, GDPR requirements. Are you dealing with like European customers? There's becomes an entire world of questions to ask as far as what are the privacy regulations for the information that I'm collecting as part of the electronic transaction with my clients, and that has to be kind of like your very first step legally to look at. The other questions we would also ask would be, how accessible is your site, especially if you're not just American. You need to make sure that your site is accessible. Preparation for taxes, I would just make sure that whatever kind of, if you're doing WooCommerce, and WooCommerce has an integration to QuickBooks and some of the other ones, but I would look into that specifically because that's going to be based on what your accountant needs, and you need to focus for that direction for them. WooCommerce has massive amounts of sales reporting, but you need to make sure that whatever you've got as far as like inventory, cost of goods sold, all of that kind of questions, those kind of items, you have to be able to create the reports that your accountant is going to need. So you start with the accountant. So 2 places to start. Go ahead.
And on the security side, just everything we normally talk about securing your WordPress site. Strong passwords, keeping track of like what plugins and stuff you're using. I'm sure Jim's going to pull up the proper talk right now. Has been done in the past.
Have we done we did a talk on security?
I would imagine we have. I feel like we usually
had-
reference one.
Yeah, I thought we had one.
The one by the old leader of Tampa Bay WordPress.
Oh,
His name
Biddle?
was
I thought his was more
Biddle,
about with like
Biddle.
optimizing. I didn't think it was about security.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Wegman has
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about security, but
Yes,
not
he has, but
not
kind of
lately.
like from a different perspective, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Here,
when you're
I'm
talking,
imagining though, because they're asking a question, they don't have a large team, so it's probably a smaller company. So I think,
Not
as Travis had
necessarily.
mentioned, I would hope if they're not quite sure about this, that they've got some. Like I mean, if you're a large company and you're hiring people who know these things, who are experts with these things, because you should have the budget for that. But if it's a smaller company, I think it was Travis that mentioned Stripe or PayPal.
Yeah.
Or
and
maybe
using
even
those integrations,
Square.
because
Square,
because you're
yeah.
gonna have the PCI compliance component is there,
Mhm.
and you can read through that. They'll have documentation on it, but I think it's nice to feel more assured that you are being compliant with with the legal requirements there.
I
And
know
think
for
the
me,
separate-
especially if you are doing this for someone else, and they are using and they're not using Stripe or Square or PayPal, and they are using something that's like their credit card account, and they have worked out a merchant account, that process is a nightmare. There's because there's there's the credit card brokers that are out there, and they're going to constantly try to push you in one direction or another as far as what solution to make. So you're better off doing some research from the side of the fella in Lakeland. If you reach out to Catapult Lakeland or the Meetup group in Lakeland, his name is Ron. No, that's not right.
Is it-
Ron Geralt? Hang on, I can't think what his name is right now. He did one of the talks
Gustafson or-
in
Yeah.
Gustafson. Yeah, Gustafson. That's it. He did the talk in Tampa on WooCommerce, and he's a good resource for that one as well. But basically, anytime you're dealing with merchant account, Terrence.
Yeah, Terrence
Isn't it?
did one.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, Terrence is
payment
big on
gateways.
merchant.
Yeah.
Yeah, payment gateways. Reach out on our word. Actually, that's going to be our very next discussion, because one of the next questions was is we need to hire someone, and that was Val's question as well. Is that do any of you guys do consulting work? I would love to get emails, phone numbers. Our primary process for dealing with consulting, getting work, hiring people, is our Tampa Facebook group. Uh, that is absolutely the best place to drop off at. We do have a Slack chat, but it seems to be very underutilized as far as like it's not going to have the biggest audience.
Send
And the
people
biggest
there.
audience.
Send people there
Huh?
so it gets bigger.
I mean, we can say that, but it doesn't happen that way because people just don't like to help on Slack. It's just the way they are. But yeah, the Facebook group is our best place if you want to post a job offer or looking for a job or looking to hire someone. And that is linked on our website directly here. I'll just share the screen again.
The other process you have to think about too, like my first question to clients whenever I do WooCommerce is what is your supply chain process, your order management process, where like if you're shipping physical products, where are they shipping from? What are your shipping methods currently? What needs to change? Because you need to really think about, particularly for physical products, the shipping always becomes a huge ordeal. So you need to have that process like really hammered out and fine-tuned in order to make the web process work for you. So that's always, if you're talking about preparation, that's always a preparation area that needs to happen because
you
it's
definitely
so
don't want to get
detailed.
stuck with you don't want to get stuck with paying for or charging someone for shipping and it be the not nowhere near enough to cover the shipping.
Yes, and shipping costs will do a business in because they can get very pricey very quickly, and we're all used to Amazon and getting things shipped free in 2 hours, and it's difficult when you're starting a business to get the shipping down. But even just the process, like who is going to receive those orders, who's going to manage those orders, who's going to pack those orders, who's going to take them to get them. You've either got to take them to a shipping place or you've got to have a ship station where you are. So those processes are what I think a lot of clients don't fully think through, and those are a lot of times the things that I have to walk people through of, okay, let's get this down before I can, we've got to have a process here before we can really put it on the website, because I'm not the one to make your process for you because it may not work for you. So you've got to really determine what's going to work for you and your organization.
Yeah, that is true. And that's a huge one. Processing money and processing that are your most expensive stuff. Packaging. So.
And hey, if you're accepting money on stuff, have a staging site.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
have a staging site anyway. But.
Yeah,
Yes.
you should anyway, but critical if you're handling money and your entire business relies on that money flow working, do not even think about doing updates on that primary production live site without testing first and staging. And also make sure that if you do have a payment gateway that you have both a live and a development flow, because you have to make sure that your payment gateway is always working. That is critical.
Yes.
And make sure to know when your off-peak times are, so you know when to actually launch your updates.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yep. Hang on. So that was our Facebook group that I posted on our chat for real quickly. And, well, let's see if Kara has more questions. Because that was it as far as our things, because those were the 3 questions we got. There was a question that popped through the meetup that just said web building. If you are going to drop a question in the meetup RSVP, kind of be a little more specific, because otherwise we don't really have much to talk about. We are trying to, with everything being as remote as it is right now, and I know everyone is trying to scramble and trying to learn new stuff. So we're trying to, we're going to try to find some more resources for helping people learn new things, because it's, we're all in that boat. So, and learning from home is pretty much going to be the best way you're going to do it right now. Like we said, we do have a link on the website for LinkedIn Learning from St. Pete Library and for the Tampa Library, and they still are offering LinkedIn Learning for free through those 2 locations, as long as you've got a library card at both. And still highly recommend the WordPress Essential training. But if you're really wanting to learn how to do web development and stuff like that, we would recommend, as at least I would know I would recommend, getting Local by Flywheel and installing that locally on your machine. It works on Windows, it works on Mac. It immediately gives you access to a web server, PHP, which is what the primary language is that all of your WordPress themes are in, and your plugins, and WordPress installation. So right off the bat, you can basically play with a WordPress host without having to go out and buy one from GoDaddy. And that's a good place to start because it also shows you where all the files go. It's easy to build and deconstruct them. And when you are ready to launch them, Flywheel does make it kind of not painless if you did want to host it on them. So, any other recommendations you guys would give as far as like learning?
Not as far as specific resources. There's a lot we can like get into around like best practices, but so that's a very long conversation.
Yeah, I figured it was. Let's see if Kara has any additional questions. Kara, looking at the screen. Hi there. Welcome back.
Hi.
Hello again.
Just
Yep.
absorbing this all. I'm just
There you go.
listening to all of it.
Yeah, we try to be as well-rounded as we possibly can be. And our Ask Us Anythings have often been like, people will be there and they'll think of something because they're sitting there and they'll ask another question. We've only got like 6 people watching us tonight, so I think we're kind of like, we have like the dregs of our society tonight. So we have you and
Everyone's
you and
on
Val.
vacation. Vacation,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, everyone's on vacation. That's kind of why we didn't have our meetup the next one next week or the week after next, because it's just people are getting. So, what are some of the other questions you had written down on your list?
So can I share my screen with you? Because it might
Yep.
be a little bit easier to.
Yeah, just hit the at the bottom share screen, and then we'll bring in the call. You may have to pick like either the application window or the whole screen, but it depends on whatever you want to look at.
Let's do that.
We got
Is it
you.
working?
Yep, we got you. Woo!
Okay.
There you go.
So on my blog, I have like the header titles, like about me, beauty, lifestyle. So I have different topics, and you can see like I started filing some of them under like the beauty, but when you're actually on the site, it looks like it's like a drop down menu. Is there any way that I could just tag a post and
Yeah.
say it's like beauty, and it doesn't like file it under and
Click
just
underneath your categories there
um
on the left hand side.
categories?
No, right underneath
in the-
your
in the
menu
white.
list. Yeah, in the
It's
menu
under,
list.
so, yeah, go down a little, you see posts, custom links,
Oh,
and then
custom-
categories.
Okay, so you actually do have category tags in here. As
Okay.
long as you name them properly, like if you name them the way you have them on your main menu, like your main menu, you have it like broken down into travel, lifestyle, makeup, that sort of thing. It looks like you're starting to do that with those categories, but you're not as consistent. You can use that kind of a category to actually filter all of your posts on your blog. So that if you had just those 5 main categories like travel, lifestyle, etc., you could click on those and you could drop that item actually physically on your menu, and when you click that button, it would give a list of all of those posts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and I would use, I don't know if you've got tags too. I just see categories, I don't see tags.
Yeah, I'm thinking probably you might want to go through some of those categories because some of those categories might be better off as tags.
Yeah.
So I think all those imported over from when I moved from Blogger to WordPress.
That's
Yeah.
probably true. Yeah. If you
Yeah.
want to, go into your posts and on the big black menu, and then click on categories there. And you can say leave page. Just don't save any changes you did. Yeah, there you go.
I
Um,
didn't.
Yeah. There we go. This is where your categories are managed. And you can, like, these are the ones that came in from your regular posts. On the right-hand side where it says count, those are the actual posts that are tagged with those particular categories that came over from Blogger. So you can merge categories here, you can change them completely here. Yeah, so like you could start with makeup and change that to like a top level category, just call it makeup, and then go through and find all the other posts that probably should be makeup and change them to that one instead.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, when you're in the post, you'll see on the right hand side there's a categories drop down and a tags drop down. Tags are like keywords. If you think along the lines of like throwing a whole bunch of little words that kind of fit that particular thing, they're not meant to be organized in a nice structural way. Categories are meant to be structural. They're, what they call it is taxonomy, which is a really confusing word for we're going to categorize this stuff so that it's easier to find.
I always explain it, the taxonomy, like in terms of animals, because I think people are used to that, like animal classification. So you've got like mammals, and then dogs, and then like Labrador Retriever, and a or whatever.
I don't recommend going that deep in your categories, your primary categories.
Yeah. So like if you stick to that top level one, probably, and then like the breeds, you probably make those tags. Like that would be, that's my brain's like equivalent of the tags.
Yeah.
Because
or
somebody,
like in the case of like makeup, you would do like maybe, I don't know, I'm blowing my brain.
But it seems like, because it's travel,
makeovers.
so like
travel.
Yeah. So like travel, makeup. I think you had one in like fashion or something, like I think I saw like an outfit of the day, like maybe fashion, and then tag things, outfit of the day. But it depends on your structure and like how often you're posting about those particular topics. So all that again is dependent on your structure. But if you look at like kind of where you've got it now, like whatever those things are that have like two, I would see how, what is the thing that you use most, so you can sort it by the count. What are the things that you have most? Because those are probably going to give you an indicator of what your category should be. And then the things that you have least of, those are probably things that your tags would be, because you're probably not posting about those because they're probably very specific. Okay. Like under fashion, you might have American Eagle and
tags
Taylor
kind of fall into like
as
hashtags too, to some extent. If you think of them like hashtags on an Instagram, tags do kind of fall into that category.
Okay, so, that makes sense.
Yeah. Or it depends, but again, it depends on how you organize your blog.
Like hashtags there could be super broad, but because some like you want some broad hashtags and some specific hashtags.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I see that you got like ASOS and BC Footwear. That would all be fashion, and Taylor Loft, American Eagle.
Yeah.
Your air repair is probably in your lifestyle section, I'm guessing.
I don't know where that one came from. I'll have.
But you've got two. You have two whole blog articles about it, so
wrote about it twice at least, so it's something.
Yeah, but that's how you find out. Like you've got, how many have you got? You have, I don't know how many categories you have. If you scan down the page, it looks like you got 10 pages of them. So you have 185 categories. So yeah, you'd want to organize those to some extent.
Yeah, because I see a lot of brand names in there, so like those would all fall under fashion, and then make the brand names a tag.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to say that. So you see here where it says filed in uncategorized, like
right.
Is that
would be the category? So that's saying that doesn't have a category that's assigned to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't. Okay, so I'm assuming I do that when I'm like
edit that post.
Yeah, why don't you open a post? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey guys out there in the WordPress land, you're actually learning WordPress. Learn it by doing it. Oh, and we do have a question coming through, so we have to get it next.
And you can go in the quick edit too, if you don't want to open the whole thing too. But this is the better way to show you how to do it while you're doing when you're posting. It's better to do it over here, so the category's right there.
Yeah.
And see, that's why you don't want to have so many of them, because then you got to scroll through all of them.
Yeah, or try to find it, or try to find the right one.
If you've only got a few too, like when you do search, because you might not remember. Like when you've got a lot, it's just hard to remember what the categories are. But when you narrowed it down to like 5 to 10, it's just easier to remember exactly what you've titled that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I need just like the 4, so then I can just like file them in one of the 4 categories, and then it makes sense. So what you're saying with the tags, like, so this would be like dress or yellow dress, or, something like that.
because with the tags, like if you have a main like blog page, you can always put a search bar in there. So if people are really looking for, like, I only want Ann Taylor, post about Ann Taylor, like they can put that search, they can search that tag. But they're also going to know probably of the menu items they have, they're probably going to go to like fashion first, and search for Ann Taylor. If they don't see it there, they might go to the search bar and search
And
Ann
doing
Taylor.
the categories and the tags will actually help your SEO quite a bit.
Yeah.
As well.
Even if they're just broad, like style or travel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
the primary ones, the big ones, are going to give you kind of like those major categories so that they would actually pop off. Because if you have them as like menu categories too, they'll show up in your SEO properly. So like, like style, fashion, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But when people are searching, since it actually indexes both your category indexes and your tag indexes, it will find all of those other options as well. So it'll find like the Ann Taylor and stuff like that.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, no problem.
That's particularly for SEO, like that's a really worthwhile thing to spend your time doing. And I've done it with a client of mine because it can be time consuming. And I know it's tempting to be like, I don't want to do all this. I'll just start now.
Yeah, Jen, we haven't done it on WordPress TampaBay.org yet either, so we still have to do that.
Yeah, I had a client who had like content back to like 2002, and there was a couple of categories where she only had like one or two things in, but it would fit neatly under some others. So like we went back through and assigned them all to like a fewer number of categories, and it really has helped.
That's good. It's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Kara.
Thanks, guys.
That's another good question out of you. I'm going to throw you back in the green room,
really
and we got another question coming in from the chat. So enjoy the green room. There's snacks down there. I think there's a bar down there too. So.
I have some Pringles here.
There you go. See, I told you. Make sure you find the bar. It's over there in the corner. Okay, we have another question from the comment screens. ADA compliance. Is everyone making sure their sites are ADA compliant and or concerned about it? Any recommendations for ADA compliance plugins, free ones, paid ones? That's the whole accessibility stuff. We're going to recommend.
We do have a recommendation.
Our Tampa team. What is their plugin called?
It is called something very generic, like
So if you search
accessible,
it's going to come up. They did a good job with the keywords in the title, but I can never remember the exact title of it.
Yeah, it's very generic sounding. Are you guys looking it up, or should I?
I'm trying to. Yeah. Is it?
I will.
Is it WordPress accessibility?
I think so. It sounds about right.
Joe Dol. That doesn't sound right. Joe Dolson doesn't sound right. No.
No,
Hang
but
on,
it's Joe
let
and
me go.
Steve, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's St. Pete. What's their
design?
St. Pete Web Design.
St. Pete Design. Oh, it is on St. Pete Design. Okay, let me go over that.
I think one of them has St. Pete Design and one of them has their name in there. But sometimes if you search the WordPress plugins by their names.
Yeah.
They have a free web accessibility plugin you can download straight from their site.
Yes, it's right on the top of their menu. It is.
Yeah.
I think it's called Accessibility Plugin Tampa. No, that's not right. Hang on.
WP Accessibility Tools
Here
and
it is.
Listing
That's
Alt
it.
Text
Yeah,
Finder.
Travis has it.
Yeah.
Okay. Travis, share your screen.
Teamwork.
I'm going to drop it in the private chat.
There you go.
Oh, drop it in comments so we can share it on the
Because
screen.
I cannot do that from StreamYard.
Oh,
no,
okay.
it won't allow us to, Jim.
Oh, sorry. My bad. Here, I'll do it then. Comments. Here we go. All right, Lisa. Sorry that took us so long, but our fellows over in Tampa, the ones that run WordPress Tampa, Joe and Steve, they are accessibility experts. They've done multiple talks on web accessibility, and they are pretty much hands down the people you want to ask about that stuff. So this is the link for their plugin. It's called Tools for ADA Section 508 in SEO. I'm also going to give you a link to the main page of their site on web accessibility. I'm going to just share the screen. Hang on, that'll be easier. Stop screen. Share screen. Application Chrome. There we go. This website is stpetedesign.com, and it's ADA Section 508 compliant. From the top of their menu, here, let me get rid of that little guy on the screen real quick. From the top of their menu, they have web accessibility right there. and it talks about their 2 talks are there, and all of the discussion about Section 508 and 88. They are a one-stop resource. So, Lisa, that's where we recommend you go. It's kind of interesting because I'm finding out more and more, even like Jen, Elaine, you were talking about that the other day, that people are actually getting suits filed against them for not having accessible websites now. So
Exactly. In this area. Amazing.
yeah.
As another option, I have not used it directly, but I've seen it around a bit. It's called Accessibe, Accessibe, and it does some AI stuff where you just drop in a JavaScript snippet, and it will adapt the elements on your site to make them accessible.
Whoa.
Wow.
Along with
Oh,
a
cool.
statement and certificate that the site is accessible.
Wow.
That's
How
really
how
cool.
would that work with WordPress exactly?
You're just dropping in a single line of JavaScript.
Is the company out of Israel? Is it that one?
Oh,
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah, that's it. Accessibe. They are out of Israel. There we go. I'll go ahead and pop it in there too. We'll drop it on the screen real quick. That's the one Travis just talked about. Accessibe. So it looks like accessible, which is very inaccessible, by the way, when letters are too easily confusable like that.
But it'll like scan your site every 24 hours and like
Wow.
adapt to it.
Is
yeah.
it paid or is it free?
Yeah,
It's
it's
paid.
a 7-day trial, $49 a month.
Yeah.
No credit card required. In other words, I want Bitcoin. Give me my Bitcoin.
Well, like they'll make you compliant with like WCAG, ADA, like all that stuff, screen reader and keyboard navigation adjustments.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
It's interesting, yeah.
Very cool.
Like if you even if you just want as a temporary thing, like while you actually go through the work, like it's something that you can quickly drop in.
You're about to receive that summons or something. You're about to be indicted. You throw that
Exactly.
on there. You say, "What are you talking about?"
No, we've been accessible all along. What are you talking about? Interesting. Very interesting indeed.
That's cool.
Yeah, very cool. So that was some of the discussions that were coming up that we had as well, because we no other new questions popping up yet. I don't want to pull Kara in too quickly, because otherwise we're going to have to like give her a bill. We'll have to give you a bill, Kara. But the
send her
ID.
a donation link there for open collect.
Oh yeah, I've got to get a link for it actually. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We'll get a form for that.
Yeah, our WordPressTampaBay.org website is currently paid for out of donations, but we've never actually promoted those donations. So basically, it's been me paying for it. But we needed to have hosting and we need to have domain registration, and at some point in time, we will be back to having physical in-person meetups again, and it would be nice to actually be able to offer food sometimes. So and get benefactors and that kind of thing. That's Travis actually made a good note on here on the side chat about it might not be a bad idea to start a list of vetted developers and designers in the area. If that's something that you guys would be interested in, maybe we can drop a post on that on our Facebook group. Yeah,
sure, Elaine would be.
Yeah, because we could actually put a directory on the site. That would be a way to handle that. Would be pretty good. We do have, like, if you are on our Facebook group, you can put the tag freelance, all that kind of stuff. There's an announcement post that explains if you're looking to hire, tag it with this. But Facebook is impossible to search.
And we could grow this list and post it on the site itself, which will also help everybody on the list because should have some good SEO behind it.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, is that it would be better to have the directory physically on the list. So yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that because I know I recommend a lot of people on a regular basis, and it'd be a good thing to do. So I think that's a good idea. Let's see. One of the discussions that came up was there was a very interesting article that came across. What do you call it? It came across the Twitterverse world about Gutenberg versus Elementor and HTML bloat. And I thought this was very interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the link here. I heard that sigh. Are we making them ADA compliant, Lisa? Yeah, sure we are. We are doing, actually, we're going to let Travis talk about that one in a little bit because he ran into this too. And, you know, it's a learning process is what it comes down to, Lisa, is that making your site compliant or figuring out what is accessible, what isn't accessible, and making sure that you're at least paying attention to it is an ongoing process. It's going to be something you're going to be thinking about a lot. It's smart to be aware of it right at the get-go and trying to be thinking about that before you implement new things. So, yeah, no
I think those
knows.
are probably the two biggest challenges is one, and this one to me is the most unfortunate. One is getting the people to understand why it's so important. And two, getting the information about how to specifically make it compliant in terms of the guidelines and legalities. Like because it's still new, which it shouldn't be, but because it's still new, I think that the guidelines and people are just not quite sure exactly whether or not things meet compliance. It's just difficult to know sometimes. But I think making a good faith effort towards it.
I mean,
yes,
building accessibility is only as recent as the 70s, I think, or early 80s.
I think it was even later, even more
later,
recent than that.
But I know
Reagan
Joe
or
and
Bush.
Steve say when we get a site accessible, we say today it is accessible, and that's the extent of our guarantee, because people go and upload photos and they mess with their own site, and pretty soon it's not accessible anymore.
Yeah.
But I think it's so much broader. I mean, people think about accessibility and you think about site, but there's so much more. There's so many more disabilities.
Yeah. Well, like color blindness is a big one that I never really thought of until, but you have to think about it in your design aspect, because you may have a color combination that is completely inaccessible and not realize it. And because of the color, because of green color blindness in men or something of that nature, reading, a screen reader, anything that takes if you've got a page and you pull focus away and you have something that automatically pulls the focus onto something that it shouldn't, that is immediately inaccessible to anyone that has a screen reader, because all of a sudden they're yanked away from the top of the menu where they're navigating the page and stuff like that. So like all the pop-ups and stuff like that, I think all pop-ups are inaccessible and should be gone. Just be removed. I don't ever want to see them again, ever.
Yeah.
Google has their own pop-ups, so.
Well, it kills me because I'm on my phone and I can't touch the little X to shut the thing off, and like New York Times and stuff like that, or Washington Post, you're trying to read them and it's like you get the link for them and then you'd like to read this, wouldn't you?
But if you think about, most of the times when you think about accessibility, you think of, like I said, blindness, but all four of us are wearing glasses right now.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah. I can't read most screens. I have to have them zoomed in.
I have contacts and glasses on, so it's important. But the other, there's other disabilities if you think about. If you think about like epilepsy, I get migraines, and that's another reason that I wear screen reader glasses. So that high contrast or flashing, that's going to trigger something for someone. You don't want that to happen. You don't want them to get on your site. Like, I've looked at sites and I can't even look at this site. Like, it just hurts my eyes, Yeah. So, if you think about things like that.
Some people have no fingers or arms or whatever.
Yeah.
That when we were in when Travis and I were up in at Gravity Forms for our all hands meeting, we had an accessibility expert there from what's the name of Rian's company again?
She works at Level. Rian Riefeld. She was previously the WordPress accessibility team lead, actually.
Yeah. She had a lot of stuff that I didn't even think about. Like, she had a list of all these little cards that you could pick up, and they were for each kind of different accessibility issue. Like, there was a whole thing for people on the autism spectrum.
Yes.
And making
autism, ADHD, you think about those things.
Yeah.
You don't want something that's going to, be like the epilepsy migraine. You don't want something to get overstimulated. You don't want something that's going to be unorganized. If you think about dyslexia, you want, and the thing is, like if you took dyslexia, like just that in itself, and you design for that, like you just want shorter sentences so that it's structured well enough that the differentiation and the font is easy to read. That's also going to help people with glasses. That's also going to help people with ADHD. They're not going to stay in their site that long if it's like if it's not getting them the information that they want. But that's going to help. I mean, it just helps everyone from all different levels of disability to no disability when you make your site accessible. It just helps so many people that you just don't think of, because people think about the certain categories, and there's so many different spectrums of everything.
In a lot of ways, I look at it as like when we all had to start going mobile first and had to start thinking responsive, because if you designed mobile first and then made your design also work for wide screens, you're hitting the lowest common denominator first, and that it's much easier to handle a design going from the tightest possible content that you could do to open content. That's one of the.
Plus, Joe and Steve explain it that you're closing the door to a lot of potential customers by not being accessible. Disabled people are going to buy insurance or buy clothing or who knows what.
Yep.
And they do use the internet.
That they do. So I want to.
But it's also like an important to know your market. Like for some stuff, like when I'm working on UI design, there's some stuff where just because of what type of setting we're trying to do, where we kind of just draw the line and be like, some of this is just not going to be accessible, because to present this content or these settings that you're trying to configure in a way that's easy to understand, we can't also try to make it like completely accessible with like every different keyboard shortcut possible.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we
there's a
balance
balance.
We discussed that with the Forms plugin too. Like, we give them the tools to do things that may not necessarily be accessible, but we give them the warnings so that they know if they make that choice, that might not be an accessible choice.
That's good.
Having a Twitter conversation with someone about like color blindness, because I have like a very specific like red-green color blindness, and they were showing it was in I think it was Washington Post or USA Today had like it was a map, and they were trying to show like COVID rates and the differentiation between colors. Like some of the states looked exactly the same to me, and like you have to really look at it. And then if you did it like in a grayscale, there was actually no difference between two of the shades that they chose.
The one they chose, like when they're doing all the countries, and they have a different color for each country, you can't follow it. Every single one of those lines needs to have the name of the country on it. Otherwise, it's impossible to read that graph if you were basing it just on colors.
Yeah, the colors and the hues, like you really need to pay attention between the contrasts, especially if they're close colors, like a lot of reds and greens.
But then at the same time, I could see like if they're publishing that in the paper, there's only so many ink colors they can go with. They got it,
Yeah, but why would you choose it was like a dark red and like a dark green, I think. I can't remember exactly. Like the colors were so similar. I'm like, get a blue and a yellow.
Well, and sometimes they're having a graphic designer do it, and they're just they're wanting it to look pretty.
The designer probably had perfect color vision, and it looked beautiful to that person. But to me, I'm like,
and he's got a deadline, and he's got to like bust his content out. So it's like
absolutely.
Well, and it used to kill me. I know Elaine's got to be familiar with this too. Back in the day, when people would be using a Windows screen to design on, and then had a Mac screen that they designed on, and the colors were not the same by any means, that kind of stuff would drive me crazy.
Or you go the opposite way, and you're like, why are all these fonts completely busted?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Like I hate looking at my website designs on a Windows browser. I hate it. I can't deal with it. But anyway, let's drop into another little bit of conversation here, since Gutenberg was one of our major talks a few weeks ago. This is an interesting talk, and this actually came up when we were discussing Gutenberg, because everyone's looking at Beaver Builder and they're looking at Elementor and Brizzy and all of these different builders out there. And it was a very interesting review of Gutenberg versus Elementor, and what they basically did. They've got a video, so you can watch that if you want to, because it's a little faster, obviously, than reading the article. But if you want to read the article's here too. They basically built an entire Elementor page in Gutenberg using blocks that were available within the actual base Gutenberg. Only one they couldn't do is this one right here. They had all the little tiny image, and I don't know why they couldn't do this, because honestly I don't think that was designed that way anyway, but maybe it
Like if
was,
you
I
can
don't know.
do something with that small of a blocks in Elementor, like it's like what are you doing making a design element like that?
Yeah,
Like,
why are you doing that? That's horrible. Horrible. Certainly isn't responsive. But anyway, I thought they looked really good together, and the big point was that they made is that they were surprised, and I was actually surprised too, how clean the Gutenberg code was. That it was a faster load at 206 lines of code versus 796. They looked at the number of divs that Elementor puts in. There was like 356 compared to 77 divs added by Gutenberg. And here's the one, the same size, this file size. It was 99 kilobytes versus 28 kilobytes, and that's big. That's huge, because that's how fast your page loads. So they go deep into depth as to how Elementor breaks up everything, because they put wrappers around every single thing, and Gutenberg doesn't, because it actually says, like, this is a header, there's a paragraph underneath the header, and it's doing semantic markup throughout. But that's always been a case with WordPress, is they're very good about doing very semantic markup. So,
and I'd
something
say
to
like
look at.
just as importantly as the markup being reduced and all that, you didn't need Elementor to do it. You could build this page layout just using the built-in tools that will work with everything.
You mean HTML and CSS?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can, but then people would have to learn that, and people don't want to learn that. So maybe that's kind of the thing. Having played with Gutenberg a little more, and playing with it a little more here and there are some smart decisions that's made. That I do like the fact that they have added as a base item an advanced tab where you can put a class in, so that you can specifically target blocks very easily. And that kind of stuff makes adding CSS for specific things very easy. And that kind of a setup in Elementor is a nightmare, because the one thing I've noticed and I'm going to go ahead and stop this share, because you guys can check that out on your own. I'm trying to sit there and think if it would actually make sense for us to start doing kind of blog articles after these Ask Us Anythings, where we actually include links to things or not. But that's something we can all discuss again, maybe on Facebook, kind of like make the web more usable or more useful. But what I was thinking of was the whole idea that these builders are meant to be helpful, but they're adding so much additional code to the point where they're making it worse. And the whole point of the web is to be semantic, so that screen readers can read it better, so that Google can search it better, so that it can be analyzed more properly by Google and actually be, organically searched. So the more stuff, I was about to say shit.
Glad you did.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm so glad I didn't do that. Yeah. But the more stuff you add to a page, and the more stuff you add to it that makes it impossible to read or deal with or troubleshoot, the more mess it's going to be for you later on. It's going to make it harder to target the CSS. We learned this quite clearly with Gravity Forms, with all the redesign. That you have to start pulling stuff out in order to be more accessible. And it makes you can make forms look amazing, but you can make forms look amazing without having it all in there too. And that's kind of the nice things about it, because semantic code can be properly styled. Yeah. And and that's another one from the forms world. If you are doing forms and you're stripping labels away, and you're stripping because you think it looks pretty, or you think it looks better to just have a big, the little input boxes that have placeholders in them and they automatically fade away, that is completely inaccessible. There's absolutely no way for that kind of a setup. There's absolutely no way for someone to fill out your form who has using a screen reader or any of that kind of stuff.
unless you're using Gravity Forms 2.5, which will inject the hidden label as with the WordPress screen reader text CSS class, which as you tab over
Really?
it, will read it.
Travis,
Tell
no,
me
really?
more. Tell me
Yeah.
Tell us more. Tell us more. What else can
Well,
Gravity
if-
Forms do?
But wait,
If you want to learn more,
Make a little pop-up. Buy now, buy now.
Buy now. No, actually, we would point you to our articles. We actually have some phenomenal accessibility guidelines for forms that are for developer reviewed, for designers, just general. That also gives you links to everything else. If you go to our docs.gravityforms.com, and just search the word accessibility, you'll find our entire section on it. It's pretty in depth.
which a lot of
And
that
we
is
have a good
in-
blog article too on our main site.
and a lot of like those accessibility articles on the doc site are like not Gravity Forms specific. Like they
That's
will
right.
apply to like any form you're building.
That is correct. That is correct. And to your sites, period. Because most of the stuff she actually talked about were handling design and statements like links. You know, making sure that your link is actually not click here or, click this link. Stuff like that. Making more usable links and stuff like that. It's honestly a really good article. I was fascinated. So, okay, let's see.
We have another
Travis,
question.
We
have
do?
another question.
We have questions?
Val, I have another question if there is time.
Sure. We'll bring you back in.
If she's still around.
Welcome in, Val.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
So I'm noticing you're talking about gravity forms, and it made me think of the gravity form that I just made yesterday.
Oh.
And I used some HTML stuff in there. And now it's coming up differently on my computer and my boss's computer than it is on my coworkers' computers. Like
Okay.
the fonts are showing up differently.
What did you add, like an HTML field?
Yeah.
Okay. More than likely, you're going to have to start looking at conflicts. If you're seeing it different on 3 different... is it all the same browser or just different computers?
We're all using the same browser, but on different computers. And it was different on a phone. Well, it was the same on one phone and a computer. Like the same difference, if that makes sense.
Okay, but it's just the HTML field? Just that one particular piece? Because
Well,
when you drop an HTML field in, that HTML is all yours. You own it. Everything that's in that little block is all you. So,
Right. So I
Yeah, the two things I would start with is one, making sure like that HTML that you put in that field is proper, like all the tags are closed, all that stuff. And two, even if like the issue is in the same browser, open that page in incognito mode, because incognito mode should disable any plugins you have running, like any browser plugins you have running,
yeah, Chrome extensions.
which will
yeah.
Chrome extension, which will bring everything even. Because there could be on that one computer, there is a Chrome extension running that is messing with the markup in a way that's causing that issue.
Yeah, it could be.
okay.
Yeah. And if you know it looks correct when you're doing a preview too, that's the nice thing about it is our preview and the backend for Gravity Forms takes all other plugins out of the way, takes the theme out of the way, and you know the form looks good there. Then you know the HTML is proper. Then something else could be stepping on it. But if it's not, if it was doing the same thing on everybody's screen, then I would point it to a plugin on your website or the theme itself. But if it is doing it on multiple different browsers, yeah.
It looks right in preview, and it looks right in incognito mode on my
Okay.
computer. But it doesn't look right on one person's computer.
On the phone, you said?
And one person's computer.
Okay. So is it when you're saying like the other person's computer, is it something that is based on like page width, like responsiveness, or is it something
It
like
just changed the font. So I
Oh.
put in code for a specific font, and
okay?
it's just changing the font.
I'd have to see the link, I think.
I would also even
Yeah.
double check like like on all the computers, are you all like either signed in or signed out? Because maybe there's something happening when you are signed into the site versus signed out of the site.
Checking over here.
I think in the incognito mode, I'm not signed into anything.
I'm looking to see. Is it the section, the questions and the scale, that portion, or is
It's
it?
the section with the directions and the questions and the scale.
Okay. So what's happening there?
It's just
Because I'm changing it in responsively, and it looks perfect in different width sizes. So that's not the problem. Let me look at the
Does it
actual
look like a-
HTML.
time font or
Well, let's see. So you've got so you've got 3 paragraphs with a class of P1, right? I think. Yeah, there's nothing unusual here.
No.
Nothing I'm seeing.
And the issue is that like you're not getting the proper font there, right?
yes. It was happening on this one too.
Well, you've got
You know
like,
what I think the problem is? I think whatever font that you're targeting with that P1 class, on
you
2
know
of
what I
those
see?
computers, you have the font installed locally, but you're
Yeah.
not embedding the font on the site. So that's why you're not seeing that font there.
Yeah, and you should be giving more options there. Like you need to have fallback choices. Right now you've got it set for 18.7 px Futura LT Pro.
Yeah.
So you've got like and that I'm going to try to share just the inspector bit here. Hang on a second. I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right. Hang on. Chrome tab. Dev tools. There we go. All right. So see here, you've got like this line right here.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to have fallback choices. This gives one choice and then nothing else. You need to have things like, sans serif at least after it, so that you always have a fallback. That's one thing you've got to advise your clients is that they can't enforce a font choice on the web. You can embed
Unless
a
you
font.
bundle that as a web font and include
Yeah.
that web font on the site.
We
Yeah,
have
but even then,
web fonts on our site.
yeah. So you want to definitely. Oop, that didn't work. But basically, you want to have a fallback choice on the font. You can't just do one, and because somebody may have turned off loading fonts onto their phone or other things like that.
So if you don't care what font it is, like I don't really care that it shows up in a different font on their site.
Right, but they do.
Sounds
Well-
like somebody does.
Yes, they do.
Been there.
Because it's our branded font that we're trying
Yeah.
to have it show up in. So they were concerned that it wasn't our branded font showing up on all computers.
So you have to wire up that font to your site properly.
Or
Because that is
or-
not an everyday font. That is a very weird off.
Sorry about that. I closed my browser window and killed myself.
yeah, I would do one of 2
On
things
the
here. I would either include that Futura LT Pro as a web font,
I
or alternatively, since it seems like you have like another type of Futura, like the Futura Book Regular, included as a web font on the site, I would maybe just add that in as like the first fallback,
okay.
and it should be good enough.
Okay.
And I would highly recommend on that size, you're going to need to do something responsive when you go to because 18.79, that's not bad size. I mean, that's not too big. But once you start getting down to phones and tablets and stuff like that, you may want to have some other options there. I personally never try to use an actual pixel. I use it as the base one, as my base size at the the font family, and then everything else is just scaled up and down from that with M's and Rems and stuff. So,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. Anything else?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, cool. And remember, you can get help from Gravity Forms if you purchase the license. Go to gravityforms.com/support.
I hear their support team is great.
Yeah, I hear that too. Yeah, I don't know why. I work support. He works the website. Yeah.
I was just on with support with them yesterday.
Oh, cool. Okay. Hopefully they did good to you and were nice and friendly.
You know,
Okay, cool. All right. Thanks, Val. All right. What are we at? We're at 8 o'clock.
Almost 5
Yeah. Yeah, I think we could probably wrap. How do you feel?
Hour and a half is good.
I think so. I think we've handled a lot of information, I think, tonight.
Yeah.
Travis was going to talk about a little bit about development timelines, but you can save it for next meeting.
Yeah.
After we've had after you've had your review of your sitemap. Your presentation and all that other good stuff. So, do I get a bonus for every? We got a Facebook question. Do I get a bonus for every subscription? No, we do not get commissions for sales or any of that kind of thing.
Unless you've been there at least 2 years.
Oh, Brad.
Hang in there. It'll come.
Yeah, hang in there. Maybe I'll get one.
You'll get there, Jim.
Yeah. So like I do pre-sales in my support engineer stuff because people come in all the time and they're asking questions just like they come in and ask us on here. How do I solve this solution? What's the best way to do this particular thing? And it's fun. So go ahead. I'm sorry, Travis. You were going to say something.
No.
I have a question.
Sure. Go ahead, Elaine.
Okay. Since we were talking about WooCommerce,
Mhm.
I'm confused in this one site. I have Yoast, it's WordPress, and it's WooCommerce. So there is the description, where you put your text, the description of the whole thing.
Mhm.
And there's these small abbreviated version of that for Yoast.
Right.
And then it says product description under. Should
Yeah.
I
That's
also
the
fill
tab.
that out?
That's the longer, like when you click on that page, it should have like tabs at the bottom.
What do you
Like
mean
under the
tabs?
When you're on the product, you've got a little box below it. They're called the attributes, the product attributes.
Yes.
And they'll have like a reviews tab if you have reviews. They'll have like product details. Your product description is what typically goes in that first tab. And then if you had a variable product,
So
with different,
you're advising go ahead and fill out. Now it's in 3 spots.
Yeah,
it
because the
should be
short
the same,
description.
yeah.
Yeah, the short description is the one that's like kind of displays beside it. So it should be like short, like a couple sentences, like very succinct. And you could probably pull that. Like that's probably a good description for Yoast as well.
Yes, on your meta
Probably?
key for your short 116.
Yeah. And then the longer description is more like if you've got more detail, like product detail, like if people need to know like all these specs about the product.
Well, and if you're worried too about having the product description and then having the content, because the content is something entire. Content is like page content, and WordPress, WooCommerce, and WordPress treat them a little differently. That product description is actually the content.
Yeah.
So like when you're doing the loop, the WordPress loop,
Yeah.
the content will come from the product description.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I typically do not use the comment box or the big content box
Yeah, that's
unless
what I'm
unless I need to do something very HTML-y, like if I needed to include a lot of very specific stuff. But because I can't remember, some themes use it, some themes don't. Some themes put it above they're all kind of weird the way they deal with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. When I use those things, I primarily used it for the variable products. Because the last time I used WooCommerce outside of a gigantic corporation thing, it was a product catalog, and they were selling like parts, and everything had a megahertz, and it had an application, and it had an adapter style and a brand and a this and a that, and so we had 7 different little things to categorize, and all that stuff came in on a spreadsheet, and it automatically populated into the variable products, and then we added a variable products filter that you could use at the top to say I'm looking for something for obstetrics in a 70 megahertz range that works with this brand of Not an X-ray, but it's a ultrasound.
AD, like a taser. I don't know.
Ultrasound taser. Yeah.
Sure where we're going here.
Yeah. It was an ultrasound, so it was like a specific brand of ultrasound. So it was the wands. It was the ones that they worked with the ultrasounds and stuff like that. So it was very interesting. I was going to build that whole thing out as a product catalog the hard way. And then I just looked at WooCommerce and variable products, and I said, well, that's exactly what he's looking for. And then I don't have to do anything. He can just take his existing spreadsheets and just spit it in there. So,
Okay.
yeah. Anything you
But
can do
once
to save
you drag
yourself.
Yoast into the equation, then this is so.
When you're dragging Yoast into the equation, though, you do have to, you can point, because that's one of the nice things about Yoast, and I think one of the nice things about most of the SEO stuff is that they should have a matrix based on post type to pull in specific things into each of the particular places for Google. And like if you go to the, it's called the, I don't know what they
for
call
like
it.
schema? You mean?
It's kind of like the schema, yes. It's that specific, but it's at the post type level. So like you can say products, and you can actually say this is going to be the title for my SEO title for all products, and this is going to be, you want to build it with the little variables, like the little bracket things, and then you want to put that product description in as the meta, and you want to put maybe like tags for keywords and stuff like that. So there's ways to formularize that so that you don't have to do it on every single page. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. Yeah, anytime. All right. So we are at 8:00. We are going to wrap. No new questions. Hey, hi Andy. Thank you for joining. Thank you for everybody else that actually popped in through the YouTube or Facebook. We didn't get as many people watching us tonight, but you know what? I think this was a really good Ask Us Anything. We had 2 people that dialed in and asked great questions. Thank you so much, Kara and Val. You guys were awesome. We love you, and come back again next month. When we do another one of these. The 1st in September. September 2nd or 1st or whatever. I don't know what it was. It's on our calendar. Look at our calendar. That's where things are. Visit our website, wptampabay.org. That's where everything is. Make sure you like and subscribe to us on YouTube. And thank you again for being here tonight. And we will see you in another month. Oh, and all you guys, hang on. Don't leave. So I'm going to knock you out, but hang on. Don't leave. Okay. I got to find the video clip ending. There it is. Okay. Now we're properly saying goodbye. So, all right. Thank you for watching our recorded session from WordPress St. Pete Meetup. We meet twice a month on the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays in downtown St. Pete at the Suncoast Developers Guild. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube and be sure to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when new videos are added. Find out more about WordPress St. Petersburg at our website at wptampabay.org.